I didn't know that about glass. It's too expensive to actually do that here in the US. But
I think it's just more our local economics. It's like if you've ever walked a glass factory, I mean, it's massive amounts of energy that go into that. I mean, you're essentially turning sand into glass, right?
really
And
hot.
the ovens are insane in those facilities.
If you were to look at your business and overall, I mean, it sounds like energy is a big thing. Do you have solar? Have you thought of solar? I mean, I know where you're kind of roughly where your plant is, and it seems like you got a lot of sun there.
Yeah, I mean, we could. We don't own the building. We've got maybe another 5 years in the current building we're in. We could
Okay.
extend that, but if we own the building, it becomes a cost of business at that point. We'd love to. We'd love to have no power bill. I mean, that's a big bill every month, but that's just not in the cards for us at least our scale. Yeah, and the stats that we're looking at too, it's like how much can we change, right?
This is depressing. I'm just going to drink more.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not going to stop my habits. We're not going to not distill. What can we do better is kind of how we look at it.
I think like a lot of what you said is if there's things in the process that you can be more efficient, if it's, reusing other types of energy, that's probably one thing, or different products. Glass is a bigger component, which is great. And for the most part, unless you're drinking bottom shelf, you're not drinking plastics. And like I get on my high horse a lot on this podcast about plastics because it's been a great thing for humanity, but it's also pretty bad in terms of the overall waste and what it produces. As humans, we produce 500 billion of these a year. And, when you look at, it's that company, A Liquid Death. I'm like, I love them because they put it in a can and you can reuse aluminum a lot. Plastic,
absolutely.
for the most part, not. I think, to your point on glass, I didn't know that about glass. So this is pretty educational that it's too expensive to actually do that here in the US. But
I think it's just more our local economics. It's like, it's a very much, if you've ever walked a glass factory, I mean, it's massive amounts of energy that go into that. I mean, you're essentially turning sand into glass, right? So,
really hot.
The ovens are insane in those facilities. And so I used to live up in the Bay Area, and there was a glass factory right there in outside of Oakland, Berkeley area. The amount of energy that was going in there, plus the labor costs, right? So like now again, back to just the economics of it. It's really hard from a business perspective to do that kind of production in California, for one thing, let alone anywhere in the U.S. But labor costs for us, even at a small distillery, is the highest expense, and that's with any business. When you look at the bottom numbers on a business, it makes sense to do everything overseas, unfortunately. But
like you said, I think this is a much bigger problem than even just clearly distilling. Is globalization was a wonderful thing on many levels, but it also meant we stopped building in the U.S. Like if you look at manufacturing really. And if you look at this, this thing that's getting pushed out of the White House, this whole infrastructure bill, it's great. There's gonna be a lot of jobs created from this. But a lot of what Biden's pushing is like, okay, everything needs to be made here. Everything. Like if you're gonna build some plastic, electronic component for EV charging, even the housing, everything needs to be made here if you want government money behind that. Well, that changed long ago. Long ago, we started sending things overseas, and that started happening like that. Ships sailed a long time ago. And I think it's kind of a sad state because it's easier to get an item delivered to you from China than it is down the street right now. That's just the reality where we are. And so my hope over time is even starting to offer up other things is things do become more local. Like I believe in a future of autonomous delivery where you're just going to hit buttons and things are going to move locally. Because if you think about it, like where are all these things going? Where are all the I think today we're like 100 billion parcels shipped a year. In the world. And I think in the next number of years, I think it's like 5-6 years, it's going to be 270 billion shipped around the world.
Sorting facilities to logistics of handling that it's
and if you want to talk about where the waste is in that process, it's not the transportation, it is the packaging. And or the stuff, the stuff that's not recyclable. Cardboard actually you can kind of recycle, but still there's other stuff in there that isn't, a lot of plastics. I often ask, like, where's all this stuff going? Where are all the Amazon things going? And my view is they're just growing in these urban areas. Like our homes are now glorified storage units. They're becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, but we're actually having less kids.
There's a package from Amazon every day at our door.
Oh yeah. Just like, so that's what's happening around, I think, the world. And so value things, underutilized things are just growing and accumulating. And so I do think there's opportunity in local, and it clearly benefits the planet because I think that's one way to do it. We're just not there as a society. It's just so much easier to get things delivered from around the world now.
Well, when COVID hit too, right? Like everyone went to delivery services. It was like, I don't want to go out, don't want to go into a store. Now all of a sudden you're just ordering online. So that did nothing but help that situation from a shipping perspective, right? So now these habits again have formed and it continues to evolve that way. And it's just so much easier now on your phone. You'd be like, I need
I
this.
just
Oh,
hit the
look,
button.
I get it
Yeah.
today. Why leave?
That's right. That happened a lot, like Instacarts of the world, and like
Yep.
you don't see this for stuff a lot still, right? And I go back to like where I think OfferUp can add value over time is how do you move things around, furniture. Like we sell billions
Yeah.
of dollars worth of furniture every month, and so like how do we make that easier?